Hello traders! Today we will try a new strategy by which my student earned money on the latest iPhone 15 models. This morning he sent me this screenshot that you see on the screen, and he wrote that he fulfilled his small goal, and that's just the beginning. He is also proud to be our Rich Binance cooperation, so he also invited his friends to join in, and now we're developing all together. Today I will show you one of the strategies that I have in my training. Here I will reveal one for this. I have allocated a balance of exactly $100. Let's get started the video. Here we are currently on the trading platform on the site for analyzing trading, TradingView. And now I will just explain the essence of the indicators after as always, we switch to pocket option and accordingly test the strategy. And here on the bottom screen you see a fairly famous and popular combination of the indicators, bulls and bears power. This is a strategy. This indicator and the essence of the strategy is to carefully combine it with technical analysis. The problem of many is that many use this indicator without technical analysis, without analysis the general market and so on. And today I will teach you and tell you how to use it correctly. Well, for starters, we see this indicator at the bottom of the screen, and it has two moving ones respectively. For an uptrend we have a purple line and a moving blue line for a downward. That's who it is directed in the upper position, which is the predominant one. Remember it. And the most important thing is that this indicator is slightly behind by a couple of seconds. This is also important to take into account. Therefore, it must be combined with our chart. Today, on the technical part, when we start trading, I will explain more correctly how to work with candles, with shadows, what to pay attention, and how to correctly highlight the support area, the resistance area together with the indicator also. This is our goal today. Let's, dear traders, move on to the pocket option where we will start our trading session. Here, dear traders, we are already on the pocket option. Here the same indicators are just separated, so it's more convenient. This is bears and accordingly bulls power. Let's check the setup transactions as always. The transaction amount is $100. As I remind you, today I highlighted the balance specifically at $100, and our goal is to reach the mark of $1,000. Whether it is advisable to get closer or overcome it. There is an increase in the balance in the 9 or 10 times. Trading like ours basically always take place on currency pairs. You see them on the top of the screen. Let's not talk for long and accordingly move on to the first currency pair. Here we have finally came to the first currency pair, and let's open a trade here for an increase and proceed to the general analysis. Here we have the last range going up, as well as we highlight the nearest resistance area, which is located in this plane and thus in this straight line. We can see that we still have not reached it, but there is a movement towards it slowly, so we can safely open a trade for an increase since there will be no reversal. It would be a risky trade if we had already reached this zone, then it would have possible if there a reversal here. And so we have a general decline, and accordingly you see we have small reversals that we now have. Then we look at our indicators and see what we see. Bears power is directed to the upper position and bulls power is falling a little. But this is due to the previous drawdown, but the general trend, if we carry out, we see the upward trend. It's excellent, and this trade is closed for plus. We see the total profit of our balance is $192. Great. Let's immediately move on to the next currency pair. Here we are on the next currency pair. We will open a trade here for an increase and immediately start the general analysis. Our global trend is upward and it is clearly going up. Then we look at the indicators Bills and Bulls power and see they are both directed to the upper position, which corresponds to the general upward trend on our chart. Also, at the last moment we had a formation and we pushed off to the support area and we are now moving towards the resisting area. So in the upper range there is a similar picture as in the previous currency pair. Let's watch this. And see, this deal also managed to close in plus, so to speak barely, but still a deal closed in positive territory, and we clearly had growth. Also, don't forget to take into account when opening a trade, be sure to look at how many candles are left until the end, because we have trades for a minute, but relatively speaking you see 38 seconds. In fact, our trade will close on the next candle. This is also important to consider. How I expected the growth to happen, the next candle was held for some more time, just until our trade was closed, and then we see that a drawdown is already happening. This is also something to pay attention to. Also, this candle under the sword has a shadow, we see, quite a big one in the bottom position. I said that I will talk about how to analyze common candles and shadows in this video, and we see that the shadows are large, which means the chart is tending to the upper position, especially for the red candle. You can highlight after it an obvious growth immediately occurred. Here we are on the third currency pair, opening a trade for an increase here. If I'm not mistaken, this is already the third trade for an increase. That's what we can observe here. An obvious growth is quite decent. Shadows are formed more and more in the bottom position that make a burst in the upper position. And we have the distance between them, so we can also safely open a deal for an increase. According to the indicators, we also actually see that they are clearly directed to the upper position, I think due to a small shadow, but nevertheless the general position of the upward trend. It's excellent. This trade also closes in a plus and we immediately go to the next currency pair. Here we are on the next currency pair. Let's open a down trade here and proceed to the general analysis. Here we had candles. We see a fairly true trend, but nevertheless they were constant reversals, and now we have the same situation. You can notice that in this small range, two candles with huge shadows in the upper position have formed. I will also teach you that the shadows need to be looked at even in comparison with the candle. So, in fact, the shadow is small, but if the candle were like this, it's already a huge shadow, 2 to 3 times larger than the candle is. So the drawdown and reversals are clearly visible here. Also, if we look at our both indicators, both of them are directed to the lower position. Let's watch the further on our graph. It is excellent. The transaction is also closed with a plus. We see, dear traders, that there are already 4 currency pairs, so to speak, 4 common pluses, and the balance from a value of $100 has increased to a value of $457. At this moment, trading, of course, doesn't end, and we move on to the next currency pair. Here we have moved to the next currency pair. Let's open a downward trade and proceed to the general analysis. Here we clearly have a downward trend. This is also ideally demonstrated by our indicators, which, by the way, are both directed to the lower position, which also tells us about a general downward trend. So we have opened a trade to go down, it's quite correct. And then what we can also see here on our chart is that at the moment All the small reversals have begun. Our general trend is downward. The volumes of the candle are quite decent, so we did everything right. Just let's observe our chart. It's great this deal also closing. We see we have a plus. It's also quite nice to see that everything, as I said, small reversals have begun, but nevertheless, we still have a general downward trend also prevails on the chart. Let's touch on the situation for beginners, consolidation. So let's even draw it. The outline has shifted a little, but it is okay. Consolidation is when there can be both a large and a small range, so it changes. The chart changes in one range, so it doesn't go like this. Relatively speaking, everything is really changing globally, and the global trend. Let's say it fluctuates in one range. There are two types. The first time is when we have something like this. In fact, very candle, we have a change like this, and there are wider consolidation with their own trends. This is possible, something similar to this. But if we had a drawdown, let's remove it to make it more convenient. Now if we say we will highlight the upper zone and the lower zone, something like this. If we had a place like this zone, it would be like this. Let me draw here. I draw purely in terms of growth and decline. This would be exactly what it would be, a wide consolidation. It's easier to open trades in it because it's obvious key trends are visible on our chart rather than when there is such a consolidation. When in fact every on one or two candles in the other direction, it is quite difficult to predict and see. Such situation also happen. I want to say that we see that growth is obtained. Well, perhaps there will be a cyclical movement here, or even a picture. It's possible it will be similar to this. That we will have a reversal in the opposite position. This is a figure. Let's say you can turn it over, and perhaps there will be something like this. And on the balance, we have $549. Let's increase the amount of the next transaction to $400 or even $500. And let's go to the next currency pair. Here we are on the next currency pair. We will open a trade here for an increase and proceed to the general analysis. At the moment, we see a small consolidation in this segment. However, in this consolidation, it's clearly visible from the lower boundaries. We pushed to the upper limits. This is exactly what we did. And we opened a trade for an increase. And we opened an amount we see at $500. Globally, of course, here we have a decrease in the global region. We overcame our closest one. I wouldn't even say we didn't overcome it, but well, we can say we overcame it. But we still delayed, and as a result of this delay, we have an upward trend. Perfectly, this transaction also closed in our plus. By the way, we had a 6 currency pair. Let's reduce the amount of the next transaction to $100. We see, reminding our initial goal is to overcome the barrier of $100. We have so far successfully completed, but nevertheless, our trading session is not ending now. So we are not rejoicing over time. But moving on to the next and possibly the last currency pair. Here we have switched to the last currency pair, and let's open a trade for an increase and proceed the general analysis. At the moment, we clearly have an uptrend in the last chart. Then we see the candles, even though they have a very small volume, something similar to Doge candles of uncertainty. But nevertheless, there is clearly an upward trend here. If we further look at our two indicators, bears and bulls power, we will see that there is also a clearly upward trend. Of course, the bulls have a little uncertainty since the growth is weak, but just like the bears are in a state of growth. so we can safely open a trade for an increase. And let's just follow our chart. Great, this deal also closes in plus. Let's, dear traders, at this moment we are finishing our trading session and starting to sum up the results. Of course, we fulfilled our first goal. That is, with the $100, we earned $1,101. A pretty nice number. So accordingly, go to the Telegram channel and there will be all the information about training strategies given. There is also a connection with me there. The strategy is theoretical for absolutely everything. And this stage I'm finishing this video. Thank you all for watching, guys. I hope with this strategy you will earn a lot of money. Good luck, guys. Bye bye.